Well, hello. Welcome one, welcome all to the 20k subs Q&A special. And I'm very grateful to each and every one of you guys. Those of you guys that are watching this video right now, for just helping this channel reach the amount of traction that it did. And honestly, it's just this kind of traction, this kind of momentum that really does help motivate me to continue doing what I'm doing. Now it's like one of my favorite hobbies of all time, and I have each and every one of you guys to thank for that. And I look forward to doing more and more of this stuff in the future. Now, the thing is about this Q&A video is that I originally did a recording session, particularly for all the questions that came out. There was a lot of questions, and I'm really happy that you guys were willing to give me the interaction, because interaction is like my favorite part about YouTube. It's the reason why I do YouTube, some people would say, because I like going into the comment section and then talking about Xenoblade builds, or I like going to the streams and then talking with you guys directly in the chat. And the cool thing about, all these questions is that because there were so many of them, it was just really fun to do, but unfortunately it did make things stretch on for like an entire hour for that one session, and I want to be able to do things justice. I want to be able to not have to rush through it. So what's going to happen is that I'm timing myself right now, and I will end up cutting things short at about the 20-minute mark, and then we'll pick up right where we left off, and this is going to be a multi-parter essentially. So without further ado, let's go into the questions. The first one is going to be Jose Eduardo. Thank you very much for your question, man. Your first question, it's a very common one, my favorite anime. I talk about anime a lot, but I wouldn't really consider myself a rapid consumer of anime. Honestly, in my lifetime, I think I've watched a grand total of like 12 series, I think. Maybe a little bit more than that. Maybe that's a bit of an understatement. But honestly, that's like less than some people do in an entire month, so it's crazy. But the thing is, though, when it comes to anime, I'm more of a reader instead of a watcher. I prefer to read manga, for example. And if I were to answer your question, my favorite anime would be the adaptation of my favorite manga of all time, JoJo's Bizarre Adventure. It's a really good one. If you guys have not seen it for whatever reason, I highly recommend you do. It's a very nice piece of manga history, and the way that David Productions has done this entire thing really does the series justice, and I look forward to seeing part 5 when it comes out later this year. Favorite hentai? Oh boy. Okay, so we're going into the heavy stuff. Doki Doki Literature Club. Up next, what other games do you plan on making reviews for? It's really funny that you mentioned that, because I was originally thinking of doing reviews, making reviews be a thing on the channel. But the problem is, though, this is me speaking as someone that has come off of journalism, and they teach you to be a critic when you take J-School, by the way. It's just really tricky to be able to have all that subjectivity, but then formulate an objective stance on it, and it's just so taxing for me, especially because the way that I feel about most games, I'm constantly changing my mind about what I initially think, and I'm always trying to keep an open mind for these kinds of things. Like, for example, Fire Emblem Warriors. When that game first came out, I had a pretty good idea of how I felt about that game, but now, only recently, I feel like I genuinely understand how I feel about that game, and I would have a much easier time of, talking about it. So I probably won't make a review for that game. I think a retrospective would be fun if you guys would be willing to watch that. I think the same thing's going to happen for Xenoblade Chronicles 2 as well. I'm probably going to do a 1-year retrospective for that game if you guys would be willing to. But yeah, that's something I'd like to do. In terms of streaming the next game, whatever that game is going to be, there's plenty of options. The thing is, for me, for those of you guys who are unfamiliar with how I do things at the channel, whenever I play a game, it's always a game that I cover, or it's usually a game that I cover on this YouTube channel in terms of videos and guides. The thing is, though, is that leaves very little time for me to play games on my own time. Streaming would be considered quote-unquote my time, and that may be the possibility. I always try to keep it open. The next goal is, honestly, I think my ultimate goal for this channel is to get that check mark, and you need to get that like 100k. I think you get a plaque for doing that too. I think it'd be really cool to sort of validate my existence on the internet, and maybe you guys can help me get to that. I don't know, 100k, that is my goal. Favorite game or games? A lot of people ask this question too. Honestly, it'll be really difficult because there's just so many games that I do like. But if I were to say my favorite genre, I would totally go for action RPGs, particularly the ones that allow me to customize. I'm a sucker for customization, so if that game gives me it, then automatically that bumps it up a couple of notches on the scoreboard. Favorite JoJo stand? Okay, we'll quickly go over these JoJo questions because I don't want to bore you guys if you're not familiar with the series. My favorite stand, as it is Born This Way, or it was originally called Going Underground. It is a JoJo Part 8 stand, and it's a really funny one because if the victim opens something, then they get hounded by a motorbike. Simple as that. But when you close it, the motorbike disappears. But the motorbike has like the force of a tornado or something like that. Like it goes so fast that it knocks everything away. It's hilarious. And my favorite JoJo OP is the fourth one, Sonoshi no Kyoku, and that is the one where it was Stardust Crusaders Season 2. A really, really good one in terms of how they animated the opening, and the music itself is just really, really cool. But thank you, Jose, for your questions. Next question is, where did you Goku? And he asks, how do you pronounce your channel name? So the really funny thing about this is that I've been sort of thinking to myself about rebranding. Not necessarily rebranding in the sense that, oh, we're going to have a different name altogether. I'm going to keep the Lee name in there somewhere, but, in terms of pronouncing it, though, even the NN thing, it's a very divisive thing. Honestly, I don't think I'm one to talk. I have a tendency to pronounce things the way that it's not quote-unquote meant to be pronounced, like Telos or Cosmos, for example. So really, it's all up to the user interpretation. I'm not going to judge you because you guys don't judge me. No, not at all. Pedro J asks, Voodoo Chili or Voodoo Child? I don't know what either of those are, but Voodoo Child kind of reminds me of Wicked Child from Castlevania, so I'm guessing I'm going to go with that one. What do I prefer, Xenoblade Chronicles 2 or Octopath Traveler? Also a great channel. Thank you very much, Pedro. I like my channel too. So it's really interesting that you make those comparisons. They're both very, very different games, and they both set out to do very different things, and they succeed very well. I mean, in terms of sheer content and sheer quality and value and all that stuff, Xenoblade Chronicles 2 edges out not just Octopath, but pretty much every game that's on this Switch. It is just bonkers how much they were able to push out so many things post-release. Like the game that we have today at the time of recording is just miles different from how it was on December 1st, which is really, really cool. And also, Xenoblade Chronicles 2, if I were to make a top 5 list of favorite games of all time, it would definitely make that list for various reasons. So yeah, it's a really, really good one, Yugo. Iro M, what is my favorite RPG? So I guess if we can categorize that, two RPGs if we can. Western RPGs and Japanese RPGs. Xenoblade Chronicles 2 will always have a very special place in my heart because, this is the game that helped define this channel. I've been able to meet so many of my friends through this one, and I've been able to just have so many unique experiences that I've never had playing any game, really, and that's just really, really valuable to me, and that's why it would be my favorite. Favorite Western RPG, though, has to be Dragon Age Origins. Dragon Age Origins was like the very first RPG, not even just RPG, just game, really, where like it would have characters, but then I would like turn off the game console, go for a walk, go to school, whatever, and I would be thinking about those game characters as if they were real people. I wonder what their motivations are, and they just felt so real. They were wonderfully voice acted, and they were wonderfully thought out in terms of writing and character development. That it's the kind of RPG that I feel like every fan of RPG should play. It's a cool dark medieval fantasy game. So if you have a good PC or a PlayStation 3 or an Xbox 360, you definitely have to try out Dragon Age Origins. Also, it was made by Canadians, so that's a plus. Brado Star asks, what inspired you to create the Lee Mask character? Oh, yeah, so this is a really fun question. I've answered this quite a few times, but I'll give you guys... There's two answers to this one. There's the VIP answer, and there is the vanilla answer. I'm going to give you guys the vanilla one just for now. I was bored. Really, really bored. That is the thing that inspired me. I was so bored. I had a Wacom tablet. I drew around, doodled for a bit, and I just kind of let my mind wander, and I thought about the different things that inspired me. Someone pointed out that the wings are based off of Flandre's Scarlets, which they are. They are based off Flandre. And also some people noticed the parallels between No Face from Spirited Away. I didn't really think about that. I was kind of trying to go for a Reaper thing, but I guess No Face was a little bit more, if you make it more Moe. But yeah, that's pretty much what inspired it, though. Thank you for your question. Emil Korth asks, are you going to stream Pokemon Let's Go or Smash Ultimates? I don't know about streaming them. Definitely going to play them, though. Pokemon Let's Go, definitely going to play that game. I don't know about streaming it, though. If you guys would watch that, I'd be into it. Like, the more I hear about that game, the more interesting it becomes in my eyes. So if you guys want to, that's cool. Smash Ultimate is the kind of game that I do genuinely want to be good at. And it'll be tough to be good at that because, fighting games, you know how it is. There's a lot of time investment, there's a lot of homework involved, and I want to be able to provide quality content for that game, but I can't do that in good conscience unless I'm a cut above the average viewer. Obviously, there are going to be people that are better than me, but at least I can set myself to some sort of baseline. But it's going to be very exciting, though. But yeah, I am definitely going to play both of those games. I don't know necessarily about streaming, so I can't get to you about that right now. So this is a question by my boy Alex or Harver. So thank you very, very much for the 20k stuff. And he's been around, of course, since the Breath of the Wild days, as a handful of you guys have been. And yeah, he had to, yeah, again, he asked about my name. The thing about my name, it is my pen name too, the NN Lee thing going on. I originally just had the two N's because I thought it was funny how if you make them both lowercase, it looked like a happy face. But in terms of the Lee name, it was actually kind of funny. I do have Asian roots, but I just Googled most common Canadian names because I didn't want to use my real last name, and Lee was like number 5 most common names, which makes sense if you actually look up the most richest people in Canada. Uh, two of the people in the top 10, their last names are Lee. It's really, really funny. But yeah, that's kind of how I did it. Now, he's also asking about my book. For those of you guys that don't know, I do dabble in literature. I really, really like the writer's craft and creative writing. So the book that I wrote is called Hartman's Metaphysical Anomaly, and it's just it's more of a passion project for me more than anything else. I finished writing it about a year before I started the YouTube channel. And the thing about this particular book, I can't really summarize it right now because there's just a lot of stuff. It's basically a story about a girl who is from England and she moves to a new house and finds a goddess in her backyard. And that's basically the premise. The themes of that story are very valuable and close to my heart. The first theme is to recognize that everyone is given responsibilities whether they ask for them or not, and those responsibilities are the ones that you need to just take hold of. So if you continue to neglect your responsibilities, then people are going to suffer, and I tried to convey that in the book. But then if you take responsibility, then your life, while it'll be difficult, it'll become much more bearable than if you hadn't. The other theme that I want to cover is that no matter how old you are, and this is something I'm a big fan of thinking, is that if just because you're little, just because you're young, just because you're quote-unquote inexperienced in the eyes of older people, it does not make your views less valuable. And I think that's very important for a lot of people to learn, is that you may be a small child, like this, like, you know, the main character of this book, she's 11 years old. Just because you're young doesn't mean that people should underestimate you or that your ideas are any less valid. And it's important to take that sort of initiative, and it's something that I would love to see in today's youth. We've already done some Discord thingies. Number 4 question was, does living with your sister interfere with making videos? Not really that much. I do have a sister, but the thing is, we're pretty cooperative. She's very, very gracious. Not to mention that we do have different time schedules, so more often than not, she's going to be like out of the house whenever I'm in the house, and I'm going to be out of the house when she's in the house, so it works out quite nicely. What does interfere, though, is the fact that people make jokes about me living in the basement. I actually live on the ground floor beside the bathroom, or the restroom, or however you want to call it, and whenever you turn on a faucet, everything in the adjacent area will be able to hear it, and I've had to re-record so many times just because someone had to wash their hands while I was recording. It was really, really funny. I kind of wish I saved those bloopers because anyway, like, there's a lot of weird moments where I had to stop recording. I kind of wish I saved those interruptions though. It was really good. Yeah, will I ever... Oh yeah, what are my hobbies outside of video games and anime? Honestly, things like writing, like I said before, writing's a big one. I do enjoy things like exercising. I lately have started, like, looking at gym workouts, which is really cool, like things like deadlifting, bench pressing, and, like, even just the act of training I've always found very fascinating because it's just you versus your mind, and that's cool. And finally, when do we get the Fable face reveal? So this is a question a lot of people have asked. In fact, the next question by Alexi... Well, before I move on, I just want to say thank you, Alex. Glad to have you around for the ride, buddy. And same thing's been asked by LooseUber here about the face reveal. People have been asking about this one, and I can understand why, because there's that mystery. I like that mystery, though. I kind of want to keep it that way. But the real reason why I don't reveal my face to people isn't because I'm shy, because, you know, I actually think quite highly of my face, thank you very much. It's just that I find that the way that I act towards people should be the reason why people judge me. Because like it or not, people have eyes, and people have eyes that work. And when you look at someone, you're going to have your predetermined expectations of that person, be it good or bad. For me, I have the luxury of having neither of those ones, and rather the way that I talk to you guys, the way that I answer your comments, the way that I talk to you guys during the stream, I'd rather that that your perception of me is going to be based solely on those interactions and those alone. And honestly, that's going to be the most important thing. But Alo also asks, what is my favorite Mario game? favorite Mario game has to be Super Mario Sunshine. Really good game, very good looking game, by the way. And I really like the fact that they let you kind of hover with FLUDD because 3D perception and jumping was still kind of in the works at the time. I kind of wish they had this in Super Mario 64 because that game was kind of troublesome to go from platform to platform for collision detection and such. But I do like the fact that you're able to sort of fix your mistakes, you're able to give yourself a little bit more time to land so that you don't have to feel like you're just taking that leap of faith every single time you press the A button, so that's cool. Am I ever going to make IRL videos? Well, we don't really do stuff. I was actually thinking of going to E3 and then just wearing a mask the entire time. I think maybe we'll do that in the coming year. I'd really love to, things like that. Not to mention that there are things like, Smash Ultimate's going to be a thing. I want to be heavily involved in the Smash scene here in Toronto, where I'm from. And so that could be a thing too. Like I'll probably obscure my face, not really to the sense that like I want to keep my face hidden for the sake of it. It's just that again, my face isn't all that important in terms of my interactions with you guys, and we'll keep it that way. But thank you guys very much for your questions. Bazuli GG asks, when will I continue the Hyrule Warriors Showcase series, and are you active on the subreddits? Okay, this is actually a very big answer. I'll be as quick as I can. So the Hyrule Warriors ones, unfortunately, it does seem that we're at a time where it'll be very, very difficult for me to continue making those kinds of videos. The reason why I say that is just because there's more games coming out and that there's all this unlocking that I had to do for Hyrule Warriors. It's just that there's so much, not to mention that my main reason for making videos is to provide a resource that doesn't already exist. But Hyrule Warriors has been out since like 2014, 2013, I can't even remember how long. And all those resources already exist, so it'd be very, very tough for me to justify that. Not to mention all the time investments. I'm becoming much busier these days too. But yeah, like honestly, I'd love to. I think I could if I had some downtime, but unfortunately I can't make any promises about that. In terms of the Octopath and Xenoblade 2 subreddits, the people at Xenoblade 2 subreddit have been very gracious in reaching out to me quite recently. But the thing is though, I just want to say straight off the bat, I don't even have a Reddit account. I actually make the conscious decision to avoid subreddits and most message boards, actually. The reason why I do this is more for a personal integrity thing. Not because I think that my opinion and my views are law and I shouldn't have to look at anyone else's opinions. It's just that, and again, I'm saying this as someone that's come off of journalism. Once you look at other people's work, it immediately takes shape in your head, and it's going to dictate how you do things from that point onward. And that's good in the sense that you're exchanging information. Naturally, that's how the interaction works. The problem is, though, is that whenever I upload something, I imply, unless explicitly stated otherwise, that is 100% my idea, and I want to be as honest as I can whenever I put stuff out. Like everything that you have for Xenoblade, for example, that was all 100% my own personal experiences and my own perception of the game, which is why I avoid watching other people's videos. They're all very, very good though. People like Xander, Smalton, NL, they're all very, very good YouTubers and have just amazing build ideas that I can't even dream of making myself. But the reason why I avoid them is not anything malicious. It's just that I don't want to be that person that is, accused of dishonesty, and people would be right to call me out for that, though. Like, if I were to be found to have plagiarized anyone at all, I would actually just straight up shut down the channel, because I don't want that to happen. I don't want dishonesty to be a thing on the channel. Not to mention that also I don't want to be in a situation where people are like, oh, Lee doesn't have any original ideas. He just goes to the forums and then just copies any of the ideas for the views. Because, well, you guys would be right to say that too. I don't want to be in a scenario where I have no original ideas. I don't bring anything new to the table. And I think even though we do fall short in some areas, well, again, everyone has room for improvement, I am glad that we do still have that sort of integrity where all these ideas are something that I thought of and you found them here. And that's just much more valuable than just having a lot of content and a lot of channel clicks and whatnot. But yeah, thank you very much for your questions. Mickey, my boy Mickey asks, will you always be JRPG-centric, or are you trying anything Switch-wise, and how would that affect your interaction with the fanbase that you already have? Thank you very much for the question. It's actually interesting that he pointed that out. The thing is, when I first started this YouTube channel, I didn't even try to be a JRPG-centric channel. In fact, I still don't consider myself JRPG-centric, even though the games that we are centered around are in fact JRPGs. It just so happens that the last two games that we covered were JRPGs. Xenoblade Chronicles 2, Octopath Traveler, it just happened to be that way. And I do find that it is a little bit easier to make videos for that, due to the fact that there's so much information that people don't have, that they need to find in some way, and I'm more than happy to help find that out. But the thing is, though, I've never really considered it to be that this is all we're going to do. Thankfully, people have been very gracious. People do stick around whenever I do Switch games, which is nice. Most of the time, though, I will stay on Switch because I know that is the core demographic of the people that watch this stuff anyways. Even quite recently, I've been playing Monster Hunter, and there's some people that recognize me, which is kind of surreal when you think about it. Whenever I go on a hunt, people know that I'm a YouTuber, which is cool. But yeah, in terms of like what we're going to do, though, I'm going to do plenty of other things, I hope. The Switch has no shortage of good games. I have been trying to stay away from ports because I know that I stand to benefit very, very little from the ports. But honestly, all things considered, though, there's plenty of stuff on the horizon. I hope you guys will be gracious enough to kind of stick around for that one. And who knows? Who knows? We might even get to some more crazy stuff in the near future. Much bigger things. Make our own full-fledged TV show if we can. But yeah, thanks very much for your question, Mickey. And the last question for this particular video, because we're at 20 minutes, Rum Tum Tugger. Goodness, Rum Tum Tugger, he asks, during one of the streams, I was called about a job interview. And I got that job, by the way, just so you guys know. That is the job that is taking up some of my time. And what other job did I want to have? I'm guessing you're asking, like, my ideal dream job. This is kind of funny because in an ideal world, I totally have this one, but who knows? I really, if you guys haven't noticed, I love talking about games. I like talking about enthusiasm for games and gaming. Kind of like what Reggie does. I kind of want a job that Reggie has, where he's able to like be a spokesperson for Nintendo. That would be my dream job, personally. The things that I do right now, but it's just me in front of a camera, in front of a suit, saying, "Wow, look how good this game is, and look how phenomenal things have been since we started in last 2018." And then just snap my fingers. Unfortunately, I can't snap my fingers personally, but I'll just do it and then have the sound guy fill it in for me. But honestly, there's something like kind of like what Reggie does, but for a game developer. Or like speaking for the keynotes, being a spokesperson for a game. That would be really cool. I'd totally be down for that stuff, but that can't happen in this world that we live in, simply because there are many other people that are more qualified for the job. But yeah, so that's gonna be pretty much the first segment. That was gonna be like just over 20 minutes. So what we're gonna do is that we're gonna quickly cut things short, and I will see you guys in the next segment, and we're gonna go through the rest of the questions. So I hope to see you guys there.